Alright, we should be live. Let me go ahead and check.
We're not doing this on the main channel.
Oh, no, we are, I was going to do it on this.
Oh, so it's just you and me.
Yeah, that's the plan.
Alright, fair enough.
And we are, in fact, live also. Just got started. Perfect. And you've got the link, I'm pretty sure, so...
Yeah, I got the link. Just pulling it up real quick. Oh my god,
Alright.
why the fuck does this keep...
Anyways, sorry. Hello, everyone. Ace here. Welcome to the live stream. I am here joined with a guest, Jedi Knight, who was with us, if I remember correctly, last during the recent Tales from World War One stream.
Yep.
And, of course, we are here today to read Star Wars The High Republic, issue number 2 of the 2022 version. So I believe this will be your first go reading a comic book on this channel, correct?
Pretty much.
Alright.
I mean, I've read all the Phase 1 ones, and I have to say it was underwhelming.
Yeah.
At the very least.
Yeah. So anyways, let's go ahead and see where they decide to go from here. With this particular issue, I mean, the previous issue pretty much established this is set in Space Jerusalem, basically, this particular series.
And if I recall correctly from a video you posted, one of the writers was essentially trying to make it seem like one side is Palestinians, one side is Israeli, and he's essentially trying to say Israelis awful, Palestinian good.
Yeah.
When that's not the case at all. It's an entirely gray section.
Yes it is. Solon Lich says the high repulsive. Oof. Alright, so, I'll go ahead and read the description here for us. Chapter 2, Te Sirek. Death strikes on Jeddah. Jedi Knight Vildar Mak came searching for answers on the Pilgrim Moon, only to find a world divided. As arguments between Force believers rage in the street, Vildar and young Padawan Mathea Cathli investigate the disappearance of a piece of religious art in a near-forgotten shrine. But a mysterious figure lies in wait for them. A figure who claims to have knowledge of ancient rituals long forbidden by the Jedi. Haunted by the horrors of his past, Vildar Mak moves to apprehend the Darksider, only to fall victim to his arcane powers.
And it seems it just lists everything else, so I guess we get started. Would you like to go first, or should I?
This here looks like, I believe my previous guest was voicing Jedi Master Vildar Mak, if I remember correctly.
I was gonna say, did he do like an accent, or just his normal speaking voice?
It's not really necessary either way, I don't think.
Alright, so I'm first.
Yep, I think this is a narration, but it's third person, but we'll go ahead and give it to you.
Alright. Young Vildar Mak thought he was going to die at the hands of a Darksider. He thought wrong, of course. Death would come much, much later. Not on Kifex, where he was born, but on another world after another life. Okay, I just want to point this out really quick. Kifex, that's his homeworld. That's what they call it in canon.
I guess so.
Because technically it's Kifar. Or Kifu, I mean. Unless it's some continuity stuff. Oh well. The life of a Jedi. Sure, it was a life plagued with doubts. With regret he barely understood, let alone acknowledged.
I'm pretty sure I voiced the girl here because, well, that seems to be a thing on this channel for some reason.
I mean, you do a good feminine voice.
Thank you. Vildar! Vildar, can you hear me? Wake up! Master Liban! Jedi Oliva! This is Matty. Padawan Mathea Cathly. Oh, scrap formality. Something's happened. Something.
But a life cut short over too soon? Nah, it was just one. It was only just starting.
Terrible.
Where is he?
You were dead.
Did he get away?
Your heart had stopped.
Said he was a master of Morturo, the ancient rite.
I heard what he said, but we need to get you back to the convocation chambers, or the Temple of Wills.
No, he's taken a life and we must stop him. I let him escape before. Can't do that again. Won't do that. Need air. Need to be one with the Force.
You need to slow up.
Show me. Show me where he's going.
What was that?
Doesn't always work. It takes its toll on rare occasions. Does it? I saw a red door, with a sunburst inside. A diamond.
It sounds like enlightenment.
If only 9 times out of 10 the visions are.
No, I mean the Enlightenment. It's a bar owned by a Velrandi name of Craden Minst. He's, well, let's just say he's a bit of a character.
You know where it is?
Yes, but I promised Master Liban I wouldn't go back there. Not after last time. And the time before that.
Maddie, please. This is important. I need your help.
Fine, just don't die on me, okay?
I'll try not to.
They're not going to explain at all how he survived, are they?
I don't think so. Typical.
Oh no.
Are we back on this space Palestinian thing again?
Maybe.
Let me zoom in. I can't read that. Because I'm doing this from my phone, so...
Okay.
Alright. Who's doing this one, you or I?
I can voice this character, I guess.
Really? Are you sure?
Why not?
Alright.
My friends, this is a wondrous moment. The first almshouse on Jeddah dedicated to the work of the Path of the Open Hand, a refuge for all who accept the word of the Mother. It's just around the corner. If we could ever, make it through these... Sorry, I didn't mean to step on your... whatever that is. You Jedi, oh boy, do not try to disrupt our work. Wouldn't dream of it. Just 2 Jedi going on about our business. The Force will be free. The Mother has foreseen it. A lot of that going on today. You want to voice the Mon Calamari?
Yeah, I'll do that. You, above all, should listen.
Hey!
Our message is a gift freely given. What you're doing is wrong, Jedi. Your actions endanger all of us. That's enough.
Vildar, you don't need to.
We haven't time for this.
Winter's King says he's already dead. He's using the Force to animate himself. Oh god, that had better not be a power now that's been established for the Force.
If it's a power, then what do you expect? They're already trying to make them into overpowered gods. So what's the point of even trying to...
I mean, it really does destroy the original trilogy's story at that point, because then you get questions like, well, why didn't Obi-Wan just reanimate himself?
True.
Same with Yoda, for that matter. And it's not helping the fact that Yoda can now apparently summon lightning as a ghost.
Yeah, I think they should probably call some of this stuff into question, but as we both know from their prior experiences, they won't.
At this point, we need... yeah. Winter's King says it was a Sith power in KOTOR.
Yeah, but here's the thing. It deteriorated your body more the more times you did that. It wasn't supposed to keep you immortal the way you think.
That's what Darth Sion was. Okay, well...
He really was.
There still was downsides to that, though. Severe ones. Jackson says, did you know sometimes I want to nuke Utah into some Stone Age because the pizza in Lello? Okay.
What does this say?
I don't know. Let's go ahead and carry on.
Alright.
Winter's King says exactly that's why he's in such a hurry. Interesting. Maybe that's what's going on. We'll see.
Perhaps.
But your time will come, Jedi, and with it a reckoning for anyone who seeks to abuse the Force, who bends it to their will.
This city isn't what I expected.
You didn't have to do that, Vildar. I can take care of myself. Besides, Jeddah is different than other places.
Yeah, visited many.
No, but you can't just expect people to see your robes and fall at your feet. The Jedi are just one group among many. Respect isn't guaranteed. It has to be earned.
I don't need respect. I only need the Force. Going somewhere. Yes, I was hoping I could come in to the bar to look around.
I think he meant to say, please?
Ow. Ow.
You okay there?
Yeah, someone was right beside me.
Oh.
Telling them I'm busy.
Okay. Fair enough.
Alright. Haha, of course he did, of course. Don't mind the Twinkle Sisters. Wait, that's a woman.
Yep.
Anyways. Don't mind the Twinkle Sisters, they're just doing their job. Best bouncers this side of the Serrater. But they do get a lot of punctilious from time to time. Cradon welcomes you to enlightenment, my friends. May it be your sanctuary and rest, a safe haven where you may always find peace and responsibility priced and reasonably priced intoxicants. We're just looking for someone. We're all looking for someone. Pilgrim, someone, or something. That's the way of it.
No, he means that we were chasing someone.
Chasing? Oh dear, that sounds complicated. Maybe you should tell Cradon all about Cradon. Cradon is good at listening, especially to those with glasses in their hands. So what will it be? An And a Salem sunrise, maybe. Or something a little more spice. Penance ruin? A splash of Revnog? You! That's enough. That was your first and last mistake, my friend. There are two things Cradon does not tolerate within these hallowed walls: violence and theological debates. Both will get barred or decapitated, and not necessarily in that order. You don't understand. That creature over there is a Darksider. I've seen it with my own eyes. Felt his power. A Darksider? That's too perfect. Let them go, let them go. But let Cradon ask the questions. These dark powers he used so masterfully. Did your heart stop beating in your chest? Did you stare death in the face? Yes, the ancient art of Moraccio. Is Cradon going to tell him, or are you? This is so embarrassing. Embarrassing. Maybe I should introduce myself. Taysurek, at your service. Righter of wrongs, defender of those oppressed. And a Seth, if that means anything to you. Should it? Maybe if you spent more time in the archives and less persecuting the innocent. Innocent? This man is a murderer. Says who? Says the dead woman in the shrine of Sarv. Really? This woman? The one who was already dead when I found her? The woman who came to me because no one else would listen?
You were helping her?
Someone has to. There have been robberies all over the cities. Did you know that artifacts, icons, but no one cares. Not the Guardians, and certainly not the convictions.
I care.
But the Dark Right, the Moraccio. Oh, for Arcane's sake. It was a trick, okay? A pheromone my ancestors developed to temporarily knock predators on their backs. No magic, no dark side. Just protection against stupid Drydax like you.
So they gave him... Okay, well, to be fair, there is actually a poison that does act like that. And makes it seem like your heart has stopped, so...
Is that a real thing, or...?
I believe it is. I think it is called a rhododendrite or something like that. Let me double check just to be safe.
Because I remember hearing something like that in the show Archer called Fish Paralyzer or something. If that's even real. Well, it's like the old saying goes, you learn something new every day.
I know, for example... they mention it in, of all things, what's the name of it? Romeo and Juliet, it was mentioned in that as well. Because in that, the...
Oh yeah, now I remember that thing.
Because Juliet took that to feign
Her
being
death.
dead, which caused Romeo to kill himself on her grave just as she woke up, and yeah.
Alright, shall we proceed?
Tetrodotoxin. Okay, that's what it is, yeah. But yeah, that is actually a thing, okay.
Okay, so we'll give... I was gonna say, should we give him a freebie on this one?
A little bit. You know what? I will actually go ahead and give him a freebie on that.
Alright. Shall we continue?
Yeah, why not?
Alright. Sorry about that. The RG Bargy Cray. The RG Bargy Cray. Here's a few zuckles for the tab.
But wait, if we're on the same side...
Sorry, Bright Eyes, but I've got places to go and justice to bring.
By ignoring a murder.
Wow, you're a real nice person. Okay.
Well?
What?
Go after him.
Force preserve me. Hey, wait up. Matthew is right. We should talk. How does he keep doing that?
Annoying, isn't he?
Unbelievably so.
So you wouldn't be interested in where he's going?
You know.
Credon knows everything. For the right price, of course.
I don't have any credits.
Not a problem, my friend. First time is free. Besides, seems to Credon that you deserve each other.
Wait a sec. So he wants money, but then he says first time's free. They really aren't doing the very mercenary bartender bit very well, are they?
I don't think they know how to write things. Or maybe they do and they're just missing the point.
You want to talk about it?
No.
I mean, anyone could have made the same mistake after what he said.
That's enough.
There's no need to snap.
I'm not. Just look who it is. Hello there, Briff, isn't it?
Depends on who's asking.
I hear you're in the market for objects of an esoteric nature. Like objects like this.
Is that?
My lightsaber.
Oh!
How? Is my
Oh!
question.
Okay,
Okay.
I'm actually going to double check because I want to see if the comic even bothered to have the... Okay, so they did actually show up very close to one another at one point, so... And you know what? You can kind of see where he actually swiped it, which is on page 17, right down here.
Okay, hold on.
The bottom left, you can just see the coverings for his hand. So, but still, a Jedi Master just gets his saber taken without him noticing.
It's not really that. It's just Mateo was watching right there. She could have noticed that easily.
Yeah.
I mean, not only are the Jedi of the High Republic woke as shit and ideologically wrong, they are very incompetent at their job.
Yep.
Anyways.
Yeah, and neither of them could sense the Force and go, hey, wait a second. This guy's trying to reach for my saber.
I mean, you could just keep a vibro knife on you and just shank them if they even tried to.
Yeah, but you'd think a Jedi would be able to sense something like that, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah. Alright. Anyways, back to the page. So, is that my saber, my lightsaber?
Did he lift it in the bar?
Obviously.
Not interested. You're not interested in a Jedi Master's lightsaber.
You're basically a middle-aged alien working as a mechanic. Surely you'd be interested in the weapon of an ancient order.
Yeah, especially one if it's come from a Jedi Master and you therefore know it.
I can sense the frustration in your voice.
Yeah.
Ace, before we continue, could I ask you something?
Shoot.
Why do we do this? Why do we torture ourselves?
In this case, it's a case of I want to record just how god-awful it is.
I mean, you gotta document something for the history book, so I guess it makes sense.
Yeah, so future generations can learn what not to do when writing a Star Wars comic.
I think Dave Filoni has a lot to learn about how to write stuff properly.
Then again, this is Kevin Scott here.
Yeah, it's much more... Yeah, at least some of Filoni's dialogue makes sense. Some of it.
Jackson says, the High Republic is bad, but not so bad it's funny, it's just bad. Yeah, it's not like... Okay, so to put it to video game comparisons, I assume some of you have been watching my Limbo of the Lost live stream. It's not like Limbo of the Lost, where it's so bad and enters crazy person town to such extreme degrees that it comes around and starts being hilarious again. Because Limbo of the Lost is genuinely hilarious to play. In fact, another game, or another one that's actually comes to mind, because I've been just testing it out, Ring. If anyone's seen Mandalore Gaming's review of Ring, knows the kind of crazy stuff there.
Honestly, this comic is so bad it actually makes any M. Night Shyamalan movie look good.
Yeah, Winter's King says you tortured yourself for the ratings. Lol, thanks guys for all the suffering.
Yes.
Siege says they just have to toss sabers around site. Yeah, that too. I have a lightsaber from a Jedi Master. Just tosses it away when the guy claims to not be interested.
Yep. Where did we all go wrong with this? Where did the entertainment industry just go completely off the rails?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head when you mentioned wokeness. Because if you ask me, here's the thing with wokeness that a lot of people, I think it gets overlooked. But it is very critical to understanding. When it comes to wokeness, it's a matter of, the idea of wokeness is at its core arguing that a political message should be the prime concern of all art. In other words, you're not doing it for the sake of art. You're not doing it for the sake of entertainment or making a good story. You're doing it to push a political message. And when that is your number one priority, that means that the moment that it becomes inconvenient for that political message, the moment that good storytelling becomes inconvenient for that political message, you dumb down or make worse the story because it is of less importance.
That's another thing you could also build off of, because I feel like the more woke things get and the more they abandon artwork, the more corners they can cut in storytelling, dialogue, and just like quality in general. Like, the more woke you get, the more corners you can cut. Because if you look at CGI films this day and age, you can basically just reskin a new character and call them new. At least that's the simplest example I could give.
Yeah, there's more I could talk about on it, but I think that's really, when you want to know why comics and entertainment industry in general has gone downhill, that in a nutshell is the issue.
Yeah, but I think that's a topic for another day. Should probably get back to this since we've gotten off the rails a little too much.
Siege says, if it's so worthless, why steal it? In fact, I would go so far as to say that seeing a lightsaber would immediately deter a thief. Maybe it could work if he stole something else of the Jedi.
I think we're about to find out. Allegedly.
Maybe.
All right. Anyways, don't blame you. It belonged to an idiot. But I'm sure I have something you'd be interested in. Something like that. Wow. Is that Kyber?
Hey, put it down. I said hands off.
Saber's grace.
Now, hold on a second. So, the guy's interested in obtaining Kyber. Correct me if I'm wrong, but what is it that powers a lightsaber?
I don't like to call it that because that's not what it's technically called, at least in Legends, but Kyber crystals, I guess? God, I hate saying it. So, yeah, you're basically... You have that material in a lightsaber, and Did he just create a paradox, or...
Yeah,
I have a feeling he
it's
did.
it's like okay, it would be like trying to pawn off. It would be like if this dude swiped a ring with a diamond in it, a gold ring with a diamond in it, tried to pawn it off. The guy said he's not interested because while it is a gold ring with a diamond in it, it isn't just a diamond all by itself.
No.
That's exactly what this is, basically.
Yeah. So you're saying there's a diamond in it, I don't give a shit. You're like, fine. But I notice you have this beautiful giant one right here. Maybe it's the size.
Maybe, but it's still... Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways. Chook. Crick and Jedi.
Look out! Vilda!
Vildar! Oh, wait. Yeah, that's my character.
Whoops.
Vildar!
Sorry.
Whoosh.
Thought it was the guy for a minute.
That's okay.
I'm okay. That's a matter of opinion. You saved me. And you're one of those... And you're the one who's supposed to be in tune with the Force. Pity it didn't advise you to slip body armor beneath those robes, huh? Neither did it warn me that you've taken my saber. To steal from a Jedi takes cunning, genius, a certain amount of audacity. I'm almost impressed.
Even
What?
this comic is criticizing itself for us, basically, at this point. How did he not sense it? Because he's a Jedi Master!
He's like, I don't think the Force is with me today.
This has got to be one of the worst Jedi Masters I've seen in a while.
Which is a shame. A lot of them had cool designs, but yet they're fucking idiots.
Yeah, but this one in particular makes every single other Jedi Master I've seen look like Albert frickin' Einstein.
I know. It just makes me wish that... fuck, I had something for this. Oh well.
Siege says, also who says Saber's grace the dialogue hurts. I'm assuming that it's because Cavan Scott is writing a comic book and he thinks all characters need to sound like comic book heroes, or what modern day comic book heroes sound like, apparently.
He's basically just making up his own curse words and catchphrases and hoping they'd stick with people. So that way if he says them at a convention, people will be able to acknowledge him. Or vice versa.
There's people going to conventions to see Cavan Scott?
Yes. Street name, Comic-Con. And Star Wars Celebration. Funny thing is, I actually did meet one of the High Republic authors, Charles Soule.
Alright.
He's not too bad. I mean, I don't know.
Remind me which the comics he wrote, or was he just working on the books?
He wrote the book Light of the Jedi, and he also did the comic Eye of the Storm.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. And yeah, I will say this, Eye of the Storm, the first half of the first issue was actually legitimately interesting. The second
I'd
half
rather-
of that first issue kind of.
Although it was satisfying seeing that Parwan Jedi get killed.
Mm.
Although, did he have to be in the nude?
Which one?
That Parwan Jedi that basically was from... It was that Padawan Farzala's master who...
Oh yeah, that guy. The one that
Yeah.
the one that hibernates. And
Yes.
because Daniel Jose Older can't really write.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Siege
Not
is
just... Yeah, and speaking of Daniel Jose Older, before we get back to this is going to sound a little below the belt, but I think he has a kid, and I'm going to be completely disgusted at the way he's going to turn out.
I don't know. Maybe the kid will do a complete 180. Maybe the parent will be so extreme the kid just rebels and becomes extremely based.
Maybe. But then again, this is comedy. We make fun of everybody. Even ourselves.
Yeah, that is true. Alright. Shame we lost our only lead. I assume that's what you were doing.
Trying to find out who's in the market for stolen artifacts. Yes. But I found out something far more interesting than that. The statue of the Starbird. I know where that's from. And if I thought lightsabers were difficult to swipe, you ain't seen nothing yet. The Temple of the Kyber.
Well, that was my line there.
Oh.
That's okay.
Damn it!
That's okay, no worries. The Temple of the Kyber? Are you sure?
The oldest sanctum in the city, and home of 2,304 workers of sacred art. Shouldn't that be 2,303? You're learning, Drydeck.
But nothing has been reported as stolen from the Wills. They would have told us.
Because the Guardians and the Jedi are on such good terms?
Of course.
That's good to know. Maybe you'd like to mention it to them.
To be continued.
Okay.
Okay, before we do that, though, let's see if they do actually have a side story. No. So we don't get
thank
more
God.
Space Palestine.
Yeah, it was just for that one issue, I guess.
Maybe they realized it wasn't actually the best writing in the world and decided to not do that again.
They'll probably piss off their Jewish audience even more. That is, if they had one to begin with.
Mm. Of course, if they really wanted to do that, they'd create Space Kanye.
Oh God, don't even get me started on that. That would be terrible.
It would
'Cause then
be funny.
He'd be roasting them hard.
It'd be even better if they also included Space Dave Chappelle as well, after that recent Saturday Night Live monologue.
Yeah, and gotta get Space Chris Rock on his side to boost him up.
That would actually...
Okay,
that would be funny.
That'd be a perfect team up. Space Chris Rock, Space Dave Chappelle, and Space Kanye. That's the perfect team. And then just be like, uh-oh, here comes Space Will Smith.
Jackson says, I gotta go get ready for an in-person D&D session. I have a good day, and I hope you don't have an aneurysm. Thank you, Jackson. Hope the D&D session goes well as well.
Make sure your character doesn't die because of the DM's story.
Yeah. Space Will Smith. Oh, dear.
What have I done? Well, I guess despite the brain cells I've lost, that actually went pretty well.
I will say this. It is better than at least the original High Republic comic. It's still already tripping over itself, though. But
tripping's an understatement. More like shooting itself in the foot.
Yes. The Jedi are being depicted now as utter rank incompetence to the tune that a Jedi Master has apparently lost the ability to sense that, hey, someone's trying to steal his lightsaber right from under his cloak.
I mean, if it was a Padawan, that would be a different story, but...
If it was a Padawan, I can understand it, yeah. But if it's a Master, it's kind of inexcusable.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you could actually get punished for that, too.
Yeah.
I mean, if anyone in the comments could correct me, but I think you could actually get punished for getting your lightsaber stolen by a criminal or something.
But yeah, between that, the guy trying to the guy handing it over to someone that's not interested in a Jedi Master's lightsaber, even though he has a thing for Kyber, and
it's just they don't want to keep it. They don't want to keep a continuity or follow the rules. They just want to do their own thing and tell the stories the way they want it. It's like, whatever happened to just following the rules?
Well, first of all, your first problem is finding people that actually know the rules. If your priority is people like making sure that people like Kevin Scott write the comic book.
Yeah.
Because how much do you really think Kevin Scott knows about Star Wars inside and out?
I can't say, because I did see a couple interviews where he seems to know a little bit of Old Republic stuff, but I think it's just like the basics. I don't think he knows any of the more in-depth or complicated stuff. Again, I can't say that for certain, but I have a feeling he only knows, like, just like the rest of these authors, I think he only knows, like, the basics. Nothing, like, complex or further down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, nothing about the deeper lore of the Jedi Order and their philosophy, which is kind of important if you're going to be depicting Jedi in your story.
And this is way past KOTOR 2, so shouldn't Krea's teachings that she taught Mitra Surik be present? But then again, it's Disney canon and Krea doesn't exist.
Yeah.
In fact, I don't think she can, because her philosophy in and of itself is controversial.
Still, this... So yeah, this particular comic book is... How would you rate it as far as the other High Republic comics?
Hard to say, because it feels exactly the same as the others.
I would say the Temple of the Shadows was the one that had the Coom spiders, correct?
Yeah.
Or no, it was the Monster of Temple Peak. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, I would rate this somewhere between that and Trail of Shadows. Not as good as Monster of Temple Peak, but not as bad as Trail of Shadows. So far.
Do you plan to do like a whole ranking video on this stuff?
I've considered it, but...
Because, I mean, we could all join you for it.
Maybe. Alright, so Solon says to me, Yoda would resurrect himself, but he and other masters happened to come under severe scrutiny after some allegations of pedophilia. Okay then.
Okay.
That I'm not gonna touch with a 10-foot pole.
Nope. We're not touching that one. Actually, Ace, really quick, you know what I've noticed in these comics? Like, just all of them? I feel like these authors only know how to write these types of characters. The stoic master and the nerdy Padawan. Have you noticed that?
Yeah. Yeah,
Because
I've noticed there's been a recurring theme here time and time again. That is true.
Yeah, because they kept going on in like the marketing about how like, oh, this is something new characters, personality. These aren't new characters. You're basically just repeating a trope over and over again.
Well, it actually goes hand in hand with something I've been saying for a while. Yeah, so
What's that?
all right. So when it comes to the woke crowd, of course, it's based on something called critical race theory, which argues that, of course, everything is a social construct and all that. But basically, what it boils down to is, and also taking into consideration the fact that critical race theory is actually derived from Marxist teachings, which is why you have the founders of critical race theory claiming to be trained Marxists, and that is their own words on that. But the thing is, the thing I'm getting into is that Marxism argues that you should not view people as individuals, you have to view them as groups or part of collectives. It's an exclusively collectivist mindset. The individual person doesn't really exist. But what the end result is, if you only see people as groups rather than individuals, then you're not really capable of writing characters so much as creating caricatures, i.e. walking, talking stereotypes.
So correct me if I'm wrong for saying this. What you're saying is that they're trying to make this like a group of characters who have the same type of ideas and stuff instead of just giving them sort of individual personalities.
Well, I would say that because of the way the ideology works, you can't even really... A Marxist doesn't really view individuals as individuals, because their ideology pretty much forbids that. Otherwise the teachings of Marxism just fall completely flat.
Yeah, another thing I've noticed is like, why do you want to get rid of your individualism? Are you just that are these people just that insecure of themselves that they just don't want to be the way they are?
That might actually be something to it now that you mention it. That might actually have something to do with it now that you mentioned it. At least
Really?
in some cases. I don't know, because I do know there have been studies that have actually said that insecurity. There have been studies that link, of course, insecurity to more left-leaning politics. There's also been studies that suggest mental illness is more tied to far-left politics as well.
I feel like if we're going to solve this kind of crisis, we should try to help these people who have mental health issues and all that kind of stuff, but I have not seen that.
Well, part of the problem is a lot of these people don't seem to really want to be helped either.
Do you think maybe it might be because they're just... Because I feel... How do I put this? It's like if you grew up hearing stories about how your parents said, oh, we have to do everything ourselves, and our parents wouldn't spoon feed us or anything. Like, do you think maybe they're trying to do that? Like, they don't want to be spoon fed or anything, so they're just trying so hard to basically live up to their parents or some other parental figure, but yet they can't because society has changed?
I don't know. It seems to me like there does actually seem to be a level of entitlement as well, but which would be, ironically, the polar opposite, I would argue.
Which I never understood why entitlement even exists. It's like, so you think you're supposed to have that? What's the point of thinking you're supposed to have that?
Because again, well, okay, so that falls, I think, into the far leftist understanding of how they believe that wealth is split up. Basically, the far leftists think that anyone who is a billionaire became a billionaire because they stole that money from everyone else. So the person who won a lottery ticket then became a billionaire, stole that $1 billion from everyone else.
Okay, they may have a point there because let's face it, taxes can be abused. I'm not saying they're right, I'm just saying taxes can be abused at times.
Yeah, but isn't taxes, ironically enough, the thing that is itself the theft if you think about it? Because you're forcing people to give up their money. And the thing is, it's all here's my other point on taxes. If you're going to create a tax bracket system where the wealthier are supposed to spend more or are supposed to pay more in taxes, isn't that basically legal bribery at that point? Because if the wealthy are going to be paying the bulk of the taxes and thus funding the bulk of the government, well, then it would be in the government's own best interest to listen to the billionaires at that point.
Yeah, that does make sense.
So, having a tax bracket system like that is, in a way, legalized bribery if you actually think about it. And then these people wonder why the rich have so much influence. Maybe
because they're basically asking them for the money.
Anyways, Winter's King says, had to go and come back. What's this I hear about space rush hour? We were talking about if they wanted to piss off a certain demographic more, they should have Space Kanye.
Space Will Smith, Chris Rock, and also Dave Chappelle.
Yep. Military U.S. asks, do I have Star Wars Squadrons? I might. I might have it on Steam. I haven't played it yet, but I might. It's one of those cases where I need to brush up on it, admittedly. Winter's King says, what Ace is saying is that they only view people as groups, so every master must fit the master type, every Padawan must fit the Padawan stereotype. Yeah, that basically is it. They see perception as making reality, therefore they should be entitled to whatever they say they should have. That's also a thing. Because
That's interesting.
You'll actually hear this if you end up listening to debates from far leftists. Like, I know Vosh has mentioned it sometimes, a couple times in some of the debates he was in, how it's not that he's interested in the truth, it's that he's interested in his truth.
So it's basically the truth that they want, not the truth that actually exists from a realistic standpoint.
Yeah. In fact, that debate, the specific debate that Vosh was in when he was arguing that, he said in his own words that everything in history is just power grabs. And the guy who was debating was going, wow, so you think math is all power grabs? And Vosh goes, in some instances, yes. And then the guy followed up by asking, so do you also think that the truth about whether or not the Holocaust happened is just a power grab? And Vosh goes, yes!
In what way? The Holocaust was about a group of political tyrants killing their own people for being a certain religion. Plain and simple.
Yeah. But
and it wasn't
highlights
just Jews.
Yeah, I know, but it does highlight something about Vosh if you actually read between the lines there. What Vosh is saying when he says that the truth about whether or not the Holocaust happened is just a power grab, that is Vosh admitting that he only claims that he believes the Holocaust happens because it's politically convenient for him. That's what he's saying if you actually think about it.
The worst part is you can actually feel this stuff trickling into you. It's like, ugh.
Yeah. It's kind of like the Matt Sy debate I had, where I got Matt Sy, where Matt Sy was defending all the crazy stuff the far left started arguing. At which point I then, because Matt Sy was arguing that you can't judge an ideology for the extremists it produced. So I pointed out, well, if that's the case, then you can't judge medieval Christianity for the Crusades or the extremists that went on those crusades. So he started defending medieval Christianity. Then I went on to say, well, all right, so if you're going to defend that, well, again, by that same logic, you can't, by your own logic, Matt Sai couldn't condemn National Socialism for the extremist it produced. And then he started to go, well, when for its role in the Holocaust, he said, well, if you wanted to talk about how bad the Holocaust was in the 1940s, well, that's fine, but I don't think it really can be, I don't really think it should be necessary to talk about it now. So he started defending National Socialism. Yeah.
What the fuck? That's despicable.
Yes, it is.
Like, it's just strange because every side produces its extremists. It's not like a whole black and white scenario.
You know, that's actually true.
Like, every side will Sorry, keep going.
That is true. That is true. Extremists can be produced from both sides. And I do actually think that when it does happen, it should be condemned regardless. Because
I think in the... I think in the end, it really just comes down to the individual person of which part of that group it's in. Like, say, for example, you have a group that's a workers' union. They're trying to get better rights for their work environment. Everybody is in agreement that, yes, it needs to happen. But then there's always this one little tick in the crowd that wants to hijack the movement for his or herself and make it more beneficial to their needs instead of just the group as a whole. Mm. So they'll do anything they can, rise to the ranks, and then once they have the position they want, bam, they'll abuse their power and then just force their own needs onto other people. Yeah. And the sad thing is, there's a lot of people who will buy into that.
I do think that's true. I do also think there are, however, bad ideologies. If you ask me, I think ideologies that are basically a little better than a cult and will brainwash their followers. If you ask me, the way to tell if an ideology is cult-like is very simple. See if they're willing to hold discussions with people outside of that group. Because if they are willing to hold those discussions and with minimal repercussions or zero repercussions ideally, then that's probably a sign that at least that particular ideology is open to having honest discussions. It's when you have an ideology that refuses to engage in good faith with outside ideologies that it becomes a problem.
I think the tragic part is that when their ideology finally collapses and everything they built is gone, only then they'll see the truth. And I think that's what's starting to happen now as we progress through the early 2020s. A lot of these I don't like using sides, but far left groups are starting to see that maybe my ideology is flawed and maybe I should give other ones a chance.
Honestly, I think the only way it really ends is the only way it really has a genuine shot of ending is when you have people from that particular ideology just getting kicked out of it via virtue signaling or impurity spiral. So consider the Matt Sai situation again. Matt Sai basically admitted that he thought that the Holocaust would be perfectly fine had it been done by the right people, or at least perfectly forgivable. Because that's what he was arguing ultimately when he was trying to make the claims he was. There's no way a far leftist is going to survive in far left circles as a far leftist after that point. He's pretty much been kicked out. I would not be surprised if he was, anyways.
But then again, that's basically what their ideology is. Nowadays they're essentially just eating each other alive.
That is correct. And that is, I think, the ticket to bringing an end to it. Because these people are getting kicked out of their own movement. They're feeling the betrayal of getting kicked out of their own movement for either not being extreme enough or being too extreme and too open about being too extreme. and it is just causing the ideology to slowly collapse on itself. And I think the end result is going to be that you're going to have people that just have been disenfranchised from it and are now able to actually have some proper introspection.
But yeah, it's basically like the means don't justify the end, basically.
I agree, but that is exactly the opposite of what people who are, well, consequentialists believe. Like, again, going back to Vosh, Vosh... Okay, so there's actually a really good video that goes in depth on this, and this, on that particular bit I was telling you about, and the video is Vosh is unironically evil. It's a video that's over an hour long talking about the various points of Vosh, and it basically... Vosh is a actual consequentialist, and he's also a nihilist, who basically just disregards... Meaning that he's basically disregards any moral standards whatsoever.
But what happens when you lose your morality? Like, what'll happen to you?
Basically, the video itself summarized it as Vosh isn't advocating for socialism so much as he's advocating for Syria.
I see. Crazy and messed up world.
Yeah, yes indeed. Winter's King says, basically it creates narcissists. Yeah. Anyways.
Honestly, I don't know how to... Sorry, I didn't...
Go ahead.
I'm just saying, I don't know how to feel about nihilism sometimes. Like, yeah, sometimes you gotta just turn yourself off from things, but at what cost?
Well, I'm not sure that would be what proper nihilism is at its core. It's the complete...
Oh.
But, it's not the... It's not merely having an iron resolve or something like that, if that's what you mean. It's a matter of completely disregarding morals altogether.
Oh. Yeah, because what I meant was, like, if you have to disregard your morals for the sake of something terrible that's going to happen and you have to stop it, what happens when that's over and you've just disregarded them completely throughout the whole ordeal? That's what I meant.
A good question on that. I think you get into situations where you have... Well, if you're dealing with someone like... I could think of a few people like... Well, I think the one example that comes to mind is the American Civil War and the suspension of habeas corpus, which occurred during that time. A decision that was understood by those who suspended it to be an immoral action, but they saw it as a necessary evil. The thing is, they still saw it as a bad thing and wanted it to end the moment that the war was over. So I think that's the situation that you end up with.
Yeah.
Anyways, so, getting back to the comic, thoughts on it? Any more thoughts on it?
I don't really have any more thoughts other than that it was just, really. Nothing happened. That's all I can say. Nothing happened other than just complete and utter stupidity.
Yeah. They tried to explain stuff, and the one thing I will say is that the poison bit there, I will actually give him a pass on that, but that's the only thing I can really give him a pass on.
I mean, there is one thing I'll give him credit for, and that's tying into Rogue One with the Guardians of the Wills.
Alright, well then. So, yeah. At least we know Kevin Scott is watched the Disney movies then. But I think we can go ahead and this comic is not good. It is, at least it's not as bad as the worst that the High Republic has to offer.
Let's just call it inoffensive. Let's just call it inoffensive, unlike the last comic.
Yeah, I'll say that it's inoffensive. I think at least in the, as strange as it may seem, Monster of Temple Peak had at least one or two moments that were actually legitimately okay. By comparison, Monster of Temple Peak also had stuff that was worse. But the thing is, at the end of the day, I guess I would rather have something that has some good moments along with some bad moments rather than blatant mediocrity throughout the entire thing that's just bland.
Yeah, because at least Tai has some sort of character. Like, she did some bad things and couldn't admit it, so I can understand why she would run away. Like, you get caught up in a moment like that, that's going to cause you to do some pretty irrational stuff. Because at least her character is realistic.
Mm-hmm. And also the artwork in that is better, I think.
Yeah. I mean, it's not as fake looking as most comic book art is nowadays, but still has that little rubbery lighting type of look to it, if you catch my meaning.
Yep. So yeah, I will say this. I would, like I said, I would put this one firmly between Monster Temple Peak and Trail of Shadows, because Trail of Shadows is, well, still not as bad as High Republic or Adventures, but still is worse than this.
Yeah.
And then of course above that you have Eye of the Storm, which is actually I think Eye of the Storm might put it as, of the Star Wars comics proper, the best High Republic, and then you have above that you have the manga, which is actually the first manga part of the manga was actually legitimately good.
Despite the fact it used those stupid plant things.
Yeah. The second part had Daniel Jose Older, and
he took it into a complete 180, didn't he?
It felt like a massive holding pattern, is what it was. Daniel Jose Older obviously cannot write a story, and thus he spent the whole time just holding pattern the whole way through.
So he was basically just focusing on one moment for the entire book?
No. What he was doing was, hey, let's get our characters to hey, there's nothing happening. So let's have our characters go back to the Starlight Beacon. Hey, there's nothing happening at the Starlight Beacon. So let's travel back. Hey, there's actually something finally happening, but it's the last 10 pages of the comic. Or the manga.
Oh, that. So it's all just talk, no show.
Until the very end of the manga, which is still kind of... Well, it's Daniel Jose Older, so it's not good. It's just not as bad as High Republic Adventures, although it does waste your time a lot more because he spent most of it as filler.
This whole timeline is filler.
Yes, it is. I'm sorry, but the Nile just do not present themselves as a force that should be a legitimate threat.
No, a force that's a legitimate threat is a cult of dark Jedi.
How they managed to... How the Nile managed to, at the end of that, I think was Eye of the Storm, create a force field that basically destroys any fleets that travel to 12 different sectors is... Yeah, that's just... I don't see the Nile having that kind of industrial capacity.
They shouldn't. Because it was even established they were just like a tribe... not really a tribe, but just a group of space pirates which have been done to death.
Mm-hmm.
I think they would have been better if they were an actual like multi-species tribe of people instead of like a group of pirates. Like if they were just like a warrior like tribe who were just trying to live in peace and away from Republic space, that would have made them a lot more interesting.
Mm. But yeah,
And in the end, they were just pawns in a game of the in the grander scheme of those dark Jedi.
yeah. But instead, we got what we actually got. So, hooray for us, I guess. All right,
Because
so
people don't know how to write anything interesting.
So, yeah, I think now's a good time to go ahead and call it. So, yeah, this comic is not good. I can't really recommend reading this comic so far. It's not as bad as the worst that the High Republic has had to offer in the past, but that's not really saying a whole lot.
I mean, at least it's shorter than the last series. This one's only like 10 issues.
Yeah, that might be something. We'll see how they actually utilize those 10 issues, of course. But, yeah, anyways, Jedi, it's been a pleasure having you on.
Thanks, man.
Hopefully we'll be able to, of course, do this again before too long. Yeah.
Definitely.
And yeah, so like I said, good time to go ahead and call it. I think the next comic that's up, speaking of, is going to be the next issue of Knights of the Old Republic. So I'll be...
Finally, something of quality.
Yep. So we'll be seeing how that goes. And yeah, until then, this has been Ace.
And Jedi Knight.
And we both hope to see you